Hello and welcome to this week's angling vlog. This week you join me in search of chub and barbel on the River Severn. Before we get into the vlog, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who left nice comments on last week's video where we went in search of chub on that gin clear stream. I really enjoyed that day's fishing and it's been great replying to all the comments on the vlog. Thank you very much and I hope you've had a fab weekend bankside. This week was no different to other weeks. I headed out with my little lad in search of carp, this time looking for those bigger fish, and unfortunately they didn't play ball, but we had a fantastic time sat by the lake talking and playing with those monster trucks. Later on that week I decided to head to the banks of the River Severn. As I've said before, those barbel bites are so addictive, and once you've caught one you crave more. So this week it was a trip down the A49, again in search of barbel. On the outskirts of Whitchurch the rain really started to come down, and that would set a precedent for the rest of the evening. And with that you join me on the banks and let's see how we've got on. So we've arrived on the river and no sooner have we got here than the heavens have opened. I've got both the rods out, so you can see there that one of them is no longer carrying the polythene on the cork. Put that one as my right hand rod, hoping that the downstream rod will go first and we can get that one done as well. Conditions wise, it's overcast, rainy, there's a bit of extra flow on the river than last time we were here and a bit more colour. The ground pretty wet, so great care is going to be needed if we do get a bite, you know, to make sure we don't slip, because it is quite slippy down there. So my plan is to stay right back here, do all the casting from up here and only really go down there if we get a bite. That's the plan. We'll go through the setup and how we're going to approach it in a minute and the baits we're going to use. So looking at the swim, what we've got is a tree upstream and we've got one downstream as well, and what it's creating is, if we zoom in you can see how the river's moving quite pacey round about here, but underneath your feet you've got a bit of a slack. Will be a good swim for pike in winter, I would imagine, but what the barbel will do, they'll sit on the edge of that between the trees on the slack. What I'm hoping to do is put some bait on that crease and just fish on it, hoping that there's a barbel working its way upstream. It's a beautiful place to spend some time. The colours at this time of year, I mean, just look at that. It comes into focus, you can just see the colours and the reflections at this time of year are beautiful. The odd fish topping, and fingers crossed we can get a bite. So I guess this is home for the next few hours. Got all the stuff I need to hand, waist sling, pellets, got a hand sanitizer for going through the locks, all the bits of tackle that you need, the ground bait, the pellets, some more ground bait if we run out, but we'll see, and the pellets, and in there it's got some luncheon meat in case we want to roll a bit of meat or put a bit of meat on. And it's amazing what you can fit under one brolly. We've got me opportunist rod there in case I want to roll a bit of meat through the swim. So these conditions they didn't really forecast. It's give rain consistently for the next 2 hours and then a break in it, and it's pretty much going to rain into the night, which is not ideal, but you can't pick your days, can you? So fingers crossed, effort equals success. So the bait for the session is the Hinders Barbel Bomb ground bait. You have to excuse the noise of the rain on the brolly, but that is what I'm going to be plugging the feeder with, and I've used the water from the hemp to mix that up. Mixed it so it's nice and sticky, and it's going to plug that feeder, get down to the bottom intact and then break up. You see it just breaks down. Loads of pellets in it, and I put some hemp in it as well. In the feeder I've got some of the ellipse pellets. As you can see on screen now, the night before I've coated them with the ellipse oil, so they're nice and shiny, plenty of smell and plenty of attraction in the water. When the water's coloured, you've got to prey on that sense of smell. Also in the feeder, when I cast it out, will be some of the Cheshire particle hemp you can see on screen now. And at the start of the session, just before the rain started, I put out a couple of catapults of the hemp on the downstream rod, just to put a coating of hemp on the bottom and attract some fish into the swim. So the setup for the session is two 2-pound test curve barbel rods from Corham. I've got them teamed up with the shadow reels, and on there I've got 12-pound line. Down to the business end I've got a bolt and run kit, a nice big feeder, get plenty of food in the water if it's coloured, plenty of smell. And I've got that down to around about a 5-foot hook link of 10-pound fluorocarbon to a size 12 grappler hook, the new range that's coming to Corham soon. And on the end I've got a 10mm or an 8mm pellet from Hinders. So as you can see on screen now, the plans work perfectly. Unfortunately though, the fish isn't on the bank. The rod hooped over, lifted into it, the rod was bent, but it just didn't feel right. It felt, do you know when you foul hook the fish in the side of its face? And that's just how it felt. And not long into that, the hooks pulled and the fish got away. But it shows the plan worked. Plenty of hemp down, putting them feeders over the top, and we've got ourselves a bite on a place where we struggled last time. Odds are back out, fingers crossed we can get another run. And here comes the rain again. A little break in it, and then it's back on. The peg looking a little saturated. Be careful if we do get a run. As I say, I've been trying to do most of the stuff here and leaving that bit, but even with just the rain on it, you can see it's a bit wet. You've got to be careful on the river, take each step. I know it's hard when the rod hoops over, you want to get out to it. The rod isn't going anywhere, it's on a bait runner. And yeah, a bit gutted about losing that fish. It could be the only chance of the evening, but we'll see. So we're moving up to about 8 o'clock now, and it has been quiet for the last hour. I've continued to put the hemp in every now and again and keep casting regular to keep the bait going through the swim. The rain still coming down, and I think it'll continue into the evening and into dark. If we do get one, it's going to be hard earned, most definitely, but it does start to feel about that time of night where you'd expect the rods to hoop round. And with it being overcast and gloomy, it's going to feel like dusk a lot sooner. So hopefully we can pick one up. And I think if we do pick one up quite early, then we might call it a night early on, because it's, as I say, it's not the best peg for spending a night session on, really. But we'll see. It's taken a while for it to turn on, and it's just before, obviously, dark. We've had a bite. Seemed very big, and if that pike from last time we were here is about, and you'd be in trouble. Been sat here for the last couple of hours thinking about that lost barbel. And we do, don't we? We sit there thinking that was your chance. It's just going on to dark now. I know it looks a bit light, but it's just getting to that time of day now. So I'm not going to waste too long. Hopefully this is the start of a few bites, and who knows, hopefully another chance at a barbel. And about 5 minutes after that chub, one a tiny bit smaller. And I did say in last week's vlog about the chub and the barbel that some sessions aren't wasted, and when you find things like this, you store them in the memory banks for future sessions. This obviously would be a good place to come and try on the stick float. So from sitting there with 2 rods in the water, we're now sat here with none. The right hand rod has just hooped over after I dealt with that chub, but it has come on the right hand rod. So if we get it in, it'll be made up, but it won't be the packaging off the other rod. It is a barbel. Just got to try. Sessions like today, when you wonder why you do it, muddy banks, it's not stopped raining, and you do sit there thinking, what am I doing? But when it all comes good, it's worth every second. It's worth being soaked for. It's worth sliding up the banks. Yeah, fin perfect, beautiful River Severn barbel. Makes up for that fish we lost before. One happy angler. Let's get it straight back. So isn't that the magic of fishing? You sit there for a couple of hours festering over a lost fish, and although it looks quite light on that, I can assure you it's dark. We're getting into that witching hour now, where you can see the rod tips just about, your eyes adjust, but you sit there for hours wondering, has your chance gone? And then in the space of 30 minutes, 2 chub, both rods wiped out, and a beautiful River Severn barbel. And then you sat here now expectant rather than hoping. The rods are back out. I'm going to sit back, got my head torch on now, because I want to be able to see that bank down there if I go and get a run, and we'll see if we can pick up another fish. You can just see the last of the day in the distance disappearing. And one thing I've not covered on the vlog is the fact that my mate's turned up and he's fishing the peg up from me. And I think if that wasn't the case tonight, I probably would have called it a day. The banks are muddy, as you can see there. You know, it's still trickling down the rain, but you've always got to think of your safety. So we'll give it probably another hour, maybe an hour and a half, and see how we do. But proper made up with that barbel. Proper made up. Rivers are peaceful places at times, but at night even more so. All you can hear is the trickling of water off the trees, and every now and again you hear the fish just turn in the distance or under your feet, or my mate casting in just upstream. Coming to the end of the session now, we've got about half an hour left. Hopefully we can get them isotopes bouncing just one last time. So after a multitude of taps on the left hand rod, it's eventually hooped over with what I'm pretty sure is a barbel. And if it is, we all know what that means. It's one barbel in the net. We'll let it rest a little and then we'll take a look at it. One happy angler. This most certainly will be the last fish of the session, because the bank's pretty much treacherous now. Obviously walking around trying to net the fish. It's time to call it a day. You know, let's not be too greedy. We'll leave happy and safe. So stay safe, tight lines in your own fishing, and I'll catch us all next week. Tight lines.